Welcome to Woman UnZipped, a podcast featuring women who share their lives truthfully, vulnerably, and powerfully with moi, LeahRose. I believe that sharing your stories gives you access to transformation, and that when you step into your life with commitment, everything is possible. Join me for stories and shares with women from all walks of life, careers, and lifestyles. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to Woman UnZipped. I have a very special honor and privilege to share with you Maria Yraceburu, who is my mentor, but also a Diyin, which means Holy One. And she's just kind of a badass. I'm just going to say that. She stands about 5 feet tall, and you'll never see so much power and amazingness come out of anyone else. That's why I fell in love with her. And hi, Maria.
Hi, baby.
Hey. Okay, so I want to just say
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You're welcome. So I want to just touch on something real quick. Maria is out in the country, and so we may have just some touchy audio or feedback, and just you're going to love this conversation and it's going to be worth it. And the fact that we have her even available to us on the internet is a miracle. So just be patient, be with us, and we're going to deliver a great talk today. Yeah. Okay. There's going to be a lag. I'll tell you that. I already know there's going to be a lag. Okay. So you mentor. Tell me what you do. Tell our listeners what you do.
Well, I'm here in service to Earth. That's my entire life purpose. I was born into a Native American spiritual and healing tradition, and learned from some of the greats, or at least I consider them the greats. Most people have never heard of most of them, but the great magicians, if you will, of energy and thought, and everything Earth. And so what I see through the years, I've tried to be many things, right? Everybody wants to put a label on what they do, and so for part of my life, I painted pictures that healed in a sand painter tradition kind of thing. And for other years, I mentored and counseled women that had been sexually abused as kids. And I've always led the cyclic ceremonies, to get people into the earth cyclic energies, which really influences a great deal as empaths. So I do all of these things, but in certain parts of my life, there have been more contingency of that, right? More energy directed towards that, because I was doing what I teach, and that is to experience. Okay, don't lock yourself down in a label. Experience, and wherever your heart leads you, experience, because there's no invaluable experience. Okay, what makes an experience bad or invaluable is that we don't figure out what the gift is, and we always get a gift no matter what's happening, right? Even if it's ownership of who we are and saying, no, that's not where I belong, which is probably one of the biggest gifts there is. And the sacred parents, spirit and earth, want us to know no is a viable word, by the way. This is one of the first words you're supposed to learn. If you think about it, right. When you're 2 years old, you learn the word no, right? And that's the terrible twos, for sure. So this is something that, there in everything we experience, from, blissful to ecstatic to, the dredges, being down at the bottom of the pit. And I think what I do is I help people learn how to navigate all of that. I guess that's a kind of mentorship. And I utilize the medicine wheel, and I utilize most especially the cycles of earth, which are demonstrated through the medicine wheel as a tool. So that's what I do. And I tell stories, and I'm a cheerleader. And, you know, I mean, there's nobody that can make you feel better than I can. I know that for a fact. I have a unique perspective on love because I learned it from my family, and they were different for sure. So did that answer the question? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like all over the map, but that's kind of who I become.
No, that's perfect. It's perfect because it speaks, you're kind of who you are based on your life experiences. Like you were born into, let's tell, can we share a little bit? Can we go all the way back?
Sure. Oh, yeah. I was born into the Apache Tlish Diyan tradition, and taught the ways by my grandfather, who was my paternal grandfather. He was my dad's dad. And my parents were kind of absentee people, in and out of life. And I was grown up, and by the time I was 13, and working and managing a family and everything else. So I grew up like 100 years ago. Okay. And then I was like splashed into rich Carmel estates time. And that didn't last long. And then, you know, that was when I started the slide into the pit, because I started using drugs. And it was the difference between growing up one way and trying to live a life another way. And I know this is something a lot of people do, but if you figure, you know, you're brought up in the country and then you're splashed down in the city, and all these people are like so disconnected from life and Mother Earth and everything else. And all you see is squanderings of time, squanderings of life force, that it really becomes a dichotomy on where is your path that you can walk, that will satisfy both sides that you're on, because you're really straddling a tightrope. And it didn't work out for me. I'll be quite honest. Years of drug addiction and abuse and self-negation, and oh my God, the things that, and I kind of look back, and I don't want to sound like I'm proud that I did all those things, but I'm proud I survived all those things.
Yeah.
Because, you know, through the number of times I could have died, the number of times I did have near-death experiences, and my just in general being accident prone, it's a wonder I'm still here. So, you know, I take death as my best friend, because death has taught me to appreciate life, to show up and be my best every single day. And some days that's not so good. So some days only certain people get to see me that way. And then other days I like blow the roof off if they stick me inside, which is partly why we're outside today, by the way. I kept setting the puppy up. So yeah, so I come from a Native American indigenous earth background, and that's what I grew up in. I'm not Christian. I know some, mostly through friends. My grandfather raised me to be earth, not necessarily Apache Tlish Diyan. Though that's how I process things, because that was the life philosophy, the spiritual philosophy growing up. But he introduced me first to other elders of different tribes, who then showed me things after he crossed. He kind of had this whole graduate program thing set up for me with other elders.
That's
and
great.
and so I got to learn their side of how they looked at things. And then back I always kind of had a fascination for Polynesians for some reason. But then back in like 1983, I think it was, my uncle married a Hawaiian woman, and I ended up with 500 Hawaiian relatives. And that's when we actually started, about 93, we actually started doing the cross traditional ceremonies, where I would come with the outlines and I'd say, hey, I need somebody to do a healing here. So I had an Orisha priestess doing that, or I need this blessing or this kind of inner child thing happening over here. And a Hawaiian would show up to do that. So it would become basically the four corners of the earth coming together in ceremony.
Wow.
Through this very broad and expansive magic that we would create, a doorway, a portal, if you will, where people could feel immersed in exactly what Earth is. And Earth is mother. She doesn't know color. You know, she likes color. She paints great, beautiful things with our sacred Father, Creator, Spirit, whatever you want to call that force. And we're the way we are because of beauty. Okay, wouldn't we get bored if we all looked exactly the same, acted the same? You know, if you only had daisies in your yard, wouldn't you want something else? You know, maybe a little lilac or lavender or something, throw something else in there that's gonna give you some vibrancy, okay? This is what diversity speaks to, vibrancy, okay? So that's where I came from, and then that's kind of how my life was set up, and then it just moved into that. When I would be in sync, doorways would fly open. I did have to make the decision to leave that life behind that was detrimental to me. Right. And that's the big step for people. Do you want to be done with the drama, and do you want to be done with the sad story? Let's rewrite the story and get the gift and move on. So that's where I come from all over again. And, but well grounded in the earth, okay? Because one of those labels I have is a rancher. You know, you said that. I'm a rancher. I go out here, I meditate while I'm running horses or fixing fences or because it's a physical experience too. It's not just a mental thing.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. You're raised to be earth, right? That concept, you're everything, you're all. So you could be hanging out with the horses or, you know, building something and still be one, be present, be praying, be sacred, like even in those times, even in the times when you were out partying and doing that whole, like, you know, teenager, young 20s thing, you're still sacred. You are still holy. You are still on that path, right?
Yeah, I'm laughing because my best friend from high school is still my best friend many years later, you know, and he's retired. He became a college professor and went through all kinds of things together. And he's like, he always lectures me when I get down on myself for the days I was doing drugs and stuff and not maintaining ceremony or not doing this or not doing that. And he's like, oh, Maria, you got to get over it because baby, you were in there preaching to all of us. You only did drugs to get the rest of us off of drugs. And he says all my friends knew that as soon as everybody I cared about was out of the crack houses, was not doing the drugs, I had returned them to earth because I also started running sweat lodges towards the end. Then they knew I would make that decision to get off and walk away from it because I would do what was necessary. This is actually from my grandfather. My grandfather says one of my most redeeming qualities is I would never shut up until someone listened to me. Now, you and I know each other pretty well, so you giggle at that, but you can tell people that's the truth. If I had to be one thing, I guess you could say I'm an orator. I talk a lot. That's my charge in life, is to talk.
Yes, she does talk.
Put words out that affect hearts.
Right. Well, how many books have you written?
That's me.
How many books have you written, Maria?
Okay. Available, I think there's 24. I think I've written up to 32 at this point.
Yeah. Definitely words
with
are
what's no longer available and what's available.
Right. Words are definitely your superpower for sure.
And prayer. Prayer is where I started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Writing prayers for people. I started doing that when I was 10 years old. I started channeling prayers and it hasn't stopped. So it goes on forever.
Yeah, something that you said really, really resonated. There's a lot of people that have done some serious stuff that they regret, whether it's drugs or hurting people or like doing things that happened in their past. And how do we reconcile that? Like, how do we move
Okay,
past that?
Okay, well, the first thing it's interesting because, my newsletter comes out on the new moon and the full moon, and I actually just got done writing the one that comes out on Monday. And one of the things is that I really think, see, this is hard for me. And sometimes even though I've been through it, sometimes words don't come easy when we're trying to describe things because, everybody's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think that we need to instill in our heart is that peace is a verb, not a noun. Okay, we need to anchor that understanding. Peace is a verb and not a noun. The choice to keep something going is a choice. Okay, the choice to end something is also a choice. It starts with how do we want to be treated? And I don't think, I've been raped, I've been beaten, I've been verbally negated, I've been tossed out of families and have families slander me. I have been stalked and pursued by invisible shadows of fear, if you will. And what I know was the big deal was the decision. I didn't want to be like that anymore. I didn't want to be like that anymore. So I quit looking back and started looking forward. Okay, that's one. I started doing daily affirmations. I started looking at me. And when I would get triggered by other people in my relationships that would bring up past stuff, I would ask myself, why am I getting triggered? I wouldn't engage. I would ask myself, why am I getting triggered? And if I couldn't be peace filled when I was talking to someone about the trigger that they gave me, I would tell them, I really love you. And I need to go sit with this because something's but I can't identify it. It's not about you. I need to identify this. And then I want to hold this conversation again. And that's what I do. And I go look. And is this being triggered by, this back here, my having to leave my grandfather and that great life when I was 10? By the way, that great life wasn't all that great. It's just I only talk about the good things these days. The bad things are still there. I had someone trying to kill me for 3 years, okay? That's not fun when you're age 6 to 10. Right. No, okay? But it was there, and I have moved on. She made me strong. She made me the one that says, there are plenty of people out there, and if I'm not someone you resonate with, by all means, please go. I do not have a need to help you.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Stuff like that.
No, yeah. I think that's perfect. I mean, you've worked with so many people. How, I think this question comes from my own, not everyone is going to like us. How do you get right with that? How do you deal with the people the haters out there? What is your advice on that?
I say that's your problem, not mine, because 90% of the people I do meet, not as in you, but in the haters, okay?
Of course.
Because when people do that, it really demonstrates how wounded they are. And, I used to get mad at them and I used to fight with them. And then the last one that came down on me rained terror on my family. Actually, something flipped inside of me. I mean, I was nearly crushed in the moment because it did deal with my blood family, my children and stuff as well were affected. And it flipped in me and I was like, you know what? I got angry at the person that created that person. The person that sent that ripple down of dysfunction that says it's okay to treat people that way. It's okay to treat anybody that way. You know, we've gotten so disconnected from Earth. We treat Earth that way. She's an inanimate dead rock. Well, I guess again, if you want to stay alive and see a future for all the generations to come, you better start treating her like she's a living entity in your mother, you know? Right. That's what I'm here for, to teach you. She talks to you all the time. Why aren't you listening? Why don't you open up and hear what she has to say? You know, things of that nature. But yeah, for people that come, I figured out a long time ago, and God love it. You know, I'm not Christian, but I do use that word a lot, God. So, you know, that's dog backwards, right?
Yeah.
You know how I feel about my animals anyway. So my grandpa, you know, greatest influence in my life, and his mother was the greatest influence in his life. And it all started with the Apache dreamer in the 1800s, who was her uncle, Nache Delcline, which means sees beyond the stars. And he was a prophet, if you will. His dreams came true. Now, not all of them. Yeah, got him killed. So, but that's not the point. Nostradamus wasn't accurate 900% of the time either. Right. And he died a very sorry death. So just because you see the future does not mean all will be well, okay? Anyway, so long line, but something happened to him that really expanded his mind, and I'm not sure what it was. Whether it was through our Tlish Diyan or his exposure, because, you know, he's from the time of the changing Indian where kids went to school and you were taken away from your parents and there were other influences.
Yeah.
But he taught me that when someone's like that, they put a ripple out in the energy currents. And that causes the chaos that keeps people from seeing. And yet, if you're a person here that maintains your calm, meaning to me, yeah, I mean, why do I care? Why do I care what you think of me? The only people that really count, or the only entities that really count in their opinion, is the Sacred Mother, the Sacred Father, and me. Nobody else. When I stop trying to make others care or like me, life became easy.
Yeah.
Plenty of clients, plenty of students, plenty of, you know, everything comes back into flow. So really, when you're out of flow, when you feel yourself having out of flow moments, it's time to step back. That's the time to go within, self-isolate a little, play with your inner child, get back in the flow, then go back out and do it. Okay. And you will find it easy. And this again is part of the cyclic energies, because Mother Earth has cycles that are more prone to help you with release work, or more prone to help you with manifestation. So knowing those cycles can be a little added edge that helps us. And the other thing is, look how many of us there are. You know what? That's right. The ego as well when you get upset. Because we've been so, and it's also the wound. We've been so negated. And I don't want to give ego a bad name, because I want you guys to understand ego and fear have a place in our life, but we have given them way too much power, or we believe we've given them way too much power. Okay. That's an illusion that we can get over. Grandpa taught me we each have a small piece of the pie, but that small piece of the pie is ours to do. The sacred parents never give you anything to do that you cannot do. Now, can you do it in your timeline expectations? No. You have to allow for them to give you the steps, and then you can make it happen. Okay. They will show you when and where to act and what to do. You have to release your control on oh, they gave me this, or they, this big ass head that says, I have to do this or I failed.
Right.
Well, now, guess what? If you don't get to it now, it comes back around if you actually meant to do it, okay? They never take it away. They keep recycling it through those cycles, and it comes back. Mm-hmm. And we also learn there's a zillion people out there doing the same damn thing I am, okay? Just with different perspectives. That's why our cross-cultural ceremonies work. We're doing the same thing with a different voice based on a different landscape. Okay, spirituality is based on landscapes. So there's what the world has in common, and we all have things in common. And the biggest thing we have in common is every spirituality starts with a foundation of love. And then human power struggles intercede. Right. Okay. So there's that. The other thing is understanding I'm only supposed to help the people that are sent to me. I don't have to go out and be competitive. If I am to do this work, enough people will be sent to me to do this, and I will be sustained. And when I'm complaining or when I'm scared, guess what? I need to back off, go play with my inner child. Yeah. And guess what happens? I have proven this to myself more than once, LeahRose. When I get like, no, on this work drive, right? And I operate from 7 medicine wheels at a time. So I get a lot done. And I often operate them at the same time. So when I'm on the go and I'm getting things done and stuff, and I don't break for time for myself, I get tired. Yep. That's step 1 to falling down the hill. I get confused. That's step 2 for falling down the hill. And step 3 is the landslide with fear. Okay. That's the 3 steps. And if we can recognize those steps, we can head it off at the pass. Okay. Wow. But that constant need to go and be doing, I'm going to tell you the most valuable be doing is not doing anything. Because what are you doing when you're not doing anything? You're nurturing vital life force. Right. You've plugged yourself back into the solar battery so you can refill. Okay. How can you do all the other things if you're not charged? I mean, we understand it on our computer. We understand it on our car. How come we don't get it with us? Oh yeah, I'm pretty down to earth the way I talk too, guys. I use practical examples a lot of the time. And I also trust that in that aspect of not everybody's meant to work with me, that there's somebody out there that will help that person. That's my faith in humanity. That, okay, yeah, not everybody that leaves me or that I also tell people I can't work with them because I chart energies first. And I don't take anybody on unless I know I can be of service, right? Yeah. Or that they're going to do the work, because people that come to me and just want an energy high, I don't have time for those people. Nope. Okay. So I turn them away. I say, I can't. But I do have faith that there's somebody out there that will reach them. There's enough of us doing it, and sometimes I'll make a recommendation and refer people. Sometimes it's just, yeah, sayonara. I'll pray for you, but you're out of my league. You're out of my league. I don't do that kind of work. I get so many requests for ayahuasca things, and I'm like, I'm Apache, right? I'm not Incan. I don't gatherings, okay? No offense, but and then they look at me and they go, oh well, peyote, and I'm like, yeah, my family has around the peyote gatherings that they host. And before you can get into them, you have to go apprentice to the peyote master for 7 years before he'll even let you take the medicine. Are you prepared to do that? Right. Oh, no. I can't do that. They want to tell you how to do your job, right? Or what your job should be. And it's like, I don't do that. I'm sorry. And if you want what I do, you have to do it the way I do it. These are protocols. Okay. Right. So, when you come to the circle or stuff, we're a lot about education in earth protocols and etiquettes, not just with the people, the traditional earth people, because there's a lot of etiquette you got to observe there or you get yourself in trouble. Knowing etiquette with the indigenous before you go into their circle, making that request to be educated really goes a long way in the trust department. Okay, so that's one way to help heal some things that we're seeing now. The other thing is that the earth protocols. I mean, when we want something from mother, we take an offering, give it to her when you're asking, and say thank you before you get it. Right?
Yeah.
Let's practice a little gratitude. Not like, oh, I'm entitled. Let's use a word, okay, that flies around my life a lot. Entitlement is demanding and thinking that you're owed. You're not owed anything. You get what you deserve. Okay. And that may seem harsh, but when I was self-negating, I got what I asked for. I got more negation.
Yeah.
When I stood up and I sang my truth, I got more reinforcement from others that do this work. I got more words. I got more blessings on this land. I got more. Okay, so you are validated, you are reinforced. And just like a lot of us, okay, who do you want me to be today? Okay, so some people come and they need somebody to yell at. Okay, you yell at me, I don't care, it's not about me. And I actually seem to be a really good source for that. Just standing there smiling at you because you're yelling at me and then hugging you. And I also can be that person that's cracking up and we're like laughing and snot shooting out our noses or whatever from hysterics, right? I have no problem being any of those things. So that's who I am. And I guess the greatest gift you have is just be who you are, because the people you need to work with will gravitate to that and they'll be okay with that. And the other thing is it makes you a humane being. Human used to have an E on it. Do you know the original word had an E on it? Humane being. My partner, Linda, she's in to word studies. So she's always looking up words. Yeah, she found that out. It used to be humane being. And now we're human beings. They cut off our E. What's with that? You know, E in Hawaiian language is the sound of creation.
E?
The whole creation, the whole creation story, as Akumu told it to me one day at South Point Cafe with him like this close to my eyeballs, with telling me the story of E and how creation happened and how the turtles came. And it was amazing and it was mesmerizing. But yeah, the sound E. And think of it, Eo. Eo is the hawk. Eo is creator for them. So, you know, it's interesting. I did a study in language back in early 2000s with some cousins. We got Incan, Hawaiian, Tibetan, and we put Apache. We put all the languages together, and we found words in common that mean almost identical things. So this speaks to, we are one, you guys. We are one. Okay, we're one family. We're one people. And the prophecy of the fifth world from the Apache is that Creator says, it's time to bring me back together again. Children of the four directions come together and make us whole. And that's the prophecy. So, you know, that's where my work is. Do I work for human beings? No. Okay, that's another thing about me. You guys are all working for yourselves. You're all working in service to other humans. And you think you're empaths for humans and you feel way too much. Guess what? I work for Mother Earth. I'm an empath for Mother Earth. And through my empathic service to the mother, she heals you all.
Thank you.
She heals you. Yeah. And that's how it works. Is if you send your stuff into the earth, then she can pump it out through the magnetic grid to others. Okay. And it's really kind of as above, so below dome effect. Okay. We've got the earth and we have the spirit. Now, spirit, ancestors, anybody out there in that realm that does not have incarnate here, physicality, they got no time concept, but they're full of visions because they can see everything. They know why things happen. They know where things are going. They can fill your head full of all kinds of things. But if you want to actually manifest any of that, you kind of have to take it down to the manifester, which is Earth. That's the part of the equation that everybody's missing.
Right.
She's the one. Tell her the vision, and she will give you the steps to make it happen. And that's how it works.
Yes.
An extension cord just passes through us.
Okay. Wow. I just need to like readjust after that one. You have worked with many women and men who are, doing big work in the world, right? Like one thing I learned about you, actually, I didn't realize it then, but when I started working with Maria at the end of 2014, the very next year, like within a couple months that I was in the transmission and started to align with Earth cycles and the Earth's alignment, I had my first global project idea. And I don't believe that's a coincidence. I'm and then once I started doing the lineage study on, who is in this family, there's a lot of big names and global leaders. And what do you think that's all about? Like, is that your clearing, or is that like, I've always been curious about this.
Okay, my clearing. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I may not know how that statement fits in here. And again, I come from a different background and a different language. So sometimes I have to clarify how things are stated to be able to answer the question. My grandpa told me that my assignment, well, it was to bring people back to the earth. My assignment was making relations. And one of the first things that happened to me, I guess about the time I got off drugs, was that I met a woman, Gwendell Cooper. And I met her through another Native sister that was putting us all out on Moon Quest, the women's version of Vision Quest. And Gwendell was head of Native American Studies down here at State in San Diego at the time. She was head of the department. And so I was made her guardian. And I had a lot of judgment, remember, I was still in a bad relationship. I was coming off drugs. I had my kids, but this elder had seen I needed to come back to my ways. And when I approached her, she said yes. And so I went and I was Gwendell's guardian. And one of my biggest dysfunctional wounds that I've worked through my life is having a healthy mother role. Okay. I've not. And after Gwendell, it became about 8 women made up one healthy person. Okay. And I learned who to go to for what. Now, this is not picking and choosing the parent and playing the parents. This is understanding who can do what in your life for you, right? What they can address because they have experience with it. And so Gwendell was like just amazing. We went on Vision Quest or Moon Quest, and I carried her stuff. One time I got a little judgmental over another sister, and so she immediately filled my bag of rocks. Now she's a Cherokee clan mother, and she filled a bag of rocks and had me haul this thing for like 7 miles. At least it felt like 7 miles up to her site so that she could use the stones in her. She then took the bad and she made it sacred by helping build her circle with those stones. Those were the first ones that went into her circle. So she showed me transmutation. So a lot of things that I have learned through the years is with rites of passage, with release work, there comes a physically physically demanding thing that happens. And then when that's over, there's the big relief that I've done it, right? And so that's the transmutation.
Yeah.
So sometimes this is how we're doing things. So she taught me about that. Then when we got done with our moon crust and we were back at the homestead in Santa Fe, we were staying in the same cottage together. We'd been assigned together, and it's a continuing thing. And she adopted me that night. Now, Grandpa had taught me to go out and make relations, one person at a time. This was Glendale's philosophy as well. And so she adopted me on that night. She tucked me into bed and she sang the Cherokee lullaby to me.
Wow.
And she's still my mother down here in San Diego. She just lives across the hill. But because making relations, we got a plane going over, so I'm hoping you can hear me. Actually, a helicopter.
You're good.
Go, 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 go. Hurry up. So I've never been afraid to approach anyone because I got over that early in life. So, you know, people used to tell me I was too small. I'm 5 feet now, so you can imagine they thought I was going to grow up and be, you know, a little person. My son says I actually qualify. If I was 1 inch taller, I would not. I am horizontal or vertically impaired, he says. One person at a time. So they told me I was too little and I was a girl, so I couldn't do things. And I'm like, watch me. And I would go out and do it. Okay. Now I can say probably not having parents and being influenced by my 12 boy cousins had a lot to do with that. Okay. Grandpa always saying I could do anything I wanted to do and that I was gifted and all, you know, all of that other stuff. By the way, when somebody tells you you're gifted, forgive them, okay? Because that's also a setup. Anything good or bad you're told during your formative years is going to oppress you and leave you with something you've got to get over. It does not matter. So I, you know, when I started looking for other people, I started in high school, and so ended up just going to, you know, 1972 was the big ethnic year, right? The blacks were revolting. The Indians were revolting. I don't know who else was, the women were revolting. We had the feminist movement. We had the veterans against Vietnam. You know, all these things were going on. You think, wow, protests everywhere, right? And so I'm like all about peace. So I went to the head of each of these clubs on campus. And I said, we need to form an alliance. And we did. And we started holding functions together. So all of a sudden, the people that were revolting or protesting, now all of a sudden, our little groups were one big group. Okay. And so things like that. And only because I'm not afraid of the word no. No just means to me you can't do it or you're not pulled to it. Doesn't mean you don't like me. We can still be friends, you know, that kind of thing. But this is also when I met people like Richard Oakes a little earlier, because Richard had died by then. Richard Oakes was head of the Native American movement at the time that took over Alcatraz. I met people like Dr. Sophia Mubarak, who started the Sophia Institute, which was all Dianic and women's studies and stuff like that. Max Daishu, you know, came out of that contingency that's more about the educational. Through Sophia, I met Angela Davis.
Wow.
Okay, we're talking big time Black Panther Angela Davis. We're talking about other people of that nature. Grandpa saw to it that I met, oh crap. Names have gone out of my head all of a sudden. Anyway, there were several Native Americans at the time and going into the 80s that were highly influential in Hollywood. And I got to meet a lot of those people. My grandfather died when I was 17, but like I said, he had all of these things like charted my course already, right? And one of the things that did happen, remember I said, even when they tell you good things when you're little, my first big run-in with drugs was when my grandfather, or actually it was the second one, when my grandfather died, because all of a sudden I was expected to fill his shoes, step in and start doing my work.
Right.
And it's like, oh, fuck no. Oh, pardon my French.
It's okay.
Well,
We're explicit
it's not
here.
French. Actually, it is. Do you know an acronym? There's a whole paper written on the acronym fuck. Okay. Now that I've said it, I'm going to say it a lot. So anyway, there's a paper out there. Ask what it means. Foreign edification under consensus of the king. That's French.
What is it?
The French consorts of the early century. Yeah. So that's where it originated. Anyway, so meeting people, I was never afraid. You know, if they said no, I practiced protocol. I'd make them the sacred gift. I'd go to a lecture and I'd quietly go up in between breaks and I would say, hi, I'm Maria Yraceburu and my grandfather is such and such. And we'd like you to accept this on behalf of our family in gratitude for what you do.
Oh
Try
God.
approaching people that way. Get you a whole different resonance.
Yeah.
Now, these people that are still alive, you can go to our website. We got a whole page on our elders, and there must be, God, close to 100 on there. Some still with us, some not. Will Sampson was the Indian I was trying to think of earlier. Anyway, if you ever saw Poltergeist, you saw Will Sampson, all right? And so, yeah. Stop stressing the need to and just relax into who you are. I got lost.
No, that's
tell?
okay. No, it's perfect.
Sometimes.
It's perfect.
Okay, Leah, back in charge.
Right. So, well, this is perfect, right? It's like, it's part of your assignment to work with people who are ready to get cyclic, step into who they are, and, you know, relax into it. And thank you, by the way. Because when I met Maria, when I met Maria, like, I had done so much training and certifications and all of those things. And I had like found kind of the shamanic path, or you could say altered states for healing is what I would call it, because I didn't really know what it was. And it was just something that I was called to. Like, I just couldn't, no matter how my life has veered off and what stop I got off on the freeway, I always get back on and come back to spirituality, to ceremony, to like being one with the earth. And I feel like that has superpowered my impact, my ability to reach people. It's been, I'm still blown away by it. You know, it's been 9 years since we started working together, and like, but, and you can have her if she's a good fit for you. She is available starting in November. Every November, she starts taking on new apprentices, and through her mentorship, Spiral Dance. So if you're interested, if you're listening to this, you know, I feel like you don't get many chances to learn from the best. Like, the best, there are elders right now. Go find someone that you resonate with, Maria maybe, and, you know, and give yourself.
And if not, we have a whole wall.
And if not, we have a wall. Right? Like,
we have a wall.
But I personally think that it's very important to learn from our elders. Period. Like, you just need to do it, because they're going to go. And then what? We're going to have a bunch of big-headed Gen X's running the world. And I'm one of those people. But like, we need the sacred. We need the wisdom. that is passed down from generation to generation. Okay, last question. How much, and it's, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure how much time you have. Do you ever, how do you, working with like other powerful students, right? How do you ever get jealous? Do you ever like, what's it like for you to see someone else grow? I think that's my question, right? Like what?
Oh, that's like my kids graduating from high school and college.
Yeah, you're just
Any
excited.
parent wants more for their kids. You know, you want your kids to have less trials and tribulations. You want them to excel far past and grow beyond what your capacity is. And, you know, if you're able to impart any of that to them about how expansive life is, that's what's important. And I will tell you that because my students really are my children, in some respects, and in other respects not. I like to be called Shima, which means one who's like my mother. And for us, that means the eccentric auntie that shows you everything your parents didn't want you to know in the fourth world. So that's what I'm a portal of, all that information. And as I said, I'm not in service to humanity. I'm in service to Earth. So each one of you that goes surpasses me, that's a big to do. Whoop whoop. That's right. I just got a ribbon on my jacket because you graduated. So, you know, why would I be jealous? The only human being I am in competition with, remember, I'm not in competition with you. I am in competition with myself to become more tomorrow than I am today. And that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I
you
feel
can
like
never be me and I can never be you. Quantum physics proven that.
Right. No, you know, I bring that up because there's so much ego in, well, the industry that I'm in, right? I'm in the coaching industry or leadership industry. And like, and I work, and women, right? And women were taught to like compete with each other and like one up another. And it's like, I just see you always being so happy for everyone, like you said, right? So like, and this is part of, I feel like what we talk about the fourth world is like the soul sickness, right? And we've moved on into the fifth world. And so there's these new dynamics that we have to cultivate inside of ourselves and in our leadership. And a lot of what I've, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, okay. I think it goes back to the separation from Earth, because that's where the I is. Okay. The I is the ego out of control. All right. In reality, we're connected to everything. We're part of totality. And even through the coaches, even through the metaphysical people that talk and do workshops and stuff, when I listen to them, they're all talking about getting back to the we, that we are part of totality. And yet there's something in there that has not been addressed yet. Okay. And that is the ownership of who I currently am. I cannot exist without totality. Okay. Without the we, Maria would not be here. Without the we support, Maria would not be able to do what she does. Without observing the protocols that spirit and energy have given me to be able to work with higher concentrations of energy, I would burn my body up. So there's etiquette and protocols that address everything, that constantly remind us there is no I. I am not the source. I am but a conduit.
Right.
And as long as you're constantly reminding yourself that you are a conduit and not the source, then you understand all you are as an extension cord. Now, you can be the big heavy duty extension cord that'll run 1,000 feet down a football field and light up all those lights, or you can be the little bitty extension cord that plugs in and you might be able to get your computer to run off of it. The choice is yours. The more you observe the we in your life, the more ability you have to contain the energy and pass it forward. Okay. So when you meet the ego, say, fuck you. I know what you're doing here. You're fired.
Right.
Out.
Done. Bye.
Out. You don't belong here. There is no room here for you anymore. Sounds silly.
No,
and,
it's perfect.
You know, I don't like the word shamanic, and you know that because.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shamanic, you know, I don't like the word shamanic, and I'm going to address that right quick. And that's because it's specific to a tribe in Siberia. Okay. That's their word. And Native Americans got very sensitive about it because we were being, the whole world was being lumped together by this world, and individuality and respect or etiquette for the culture was not being observed. Okay. So shamanically, though, I'm going to use the word because, you know, that's what the world has come to learn this is kind of schizophrenic healing, because you break out all the parts, you know, and there's a story for this part of you and a story for that part of you and a story for that part. And you have to address them individually. And then you haul them back in once you got them healed, right? And reincorporate them.
Yeah.
So
that's a piece.
So it seems a little schizophrenic, but that's it. Address it, call it out, give it a name, and then fucking fire it. You're the CEO of the board. Hire somebody else.
I love it.
Or send him to rehab and get his act together. One of the two. Okay. So, you know, and laugh about it. Oh God, yeah, that's the most important thing, sweetheart. You got to be able to laugh at all of it because we're human and we are twins with a coyote. Okay. That's how creation made us, to learn how to be.
Well, thank you so much for being on Woman Unzipped.
Thank you, darling.
I'll have you on again for sure. Is there anything else you want to say?
I just like to do our closing prayer before we finish up and tell people that, you know, in a lot of practices, we hear about meeting the guardians, and the guardians are always asking us questions. And through all the traditions, there are 3 questions that are always asked. Who are you? Where did you come from? And why are you here? And if you don't have answers to those, don't be expected to get into indigenous circles, okay? But here's the prayer that answers it all. Nagotsen, Awazana, Yal Awazana, Dalitse, Degoyana, Nagotsen, Ilditsi, Pinu Ichikase, Shishiyukihi, Nayene. We have come from the Earth Mother. We have come from the Sky Father. We have come into the circle to be all that we can be. We are all our relations. This is our prayer, and we are grateful. And that's the most important passage of my life.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. This has been a Global Turn On production. I'm LeahRose Barber, your host. Make sure you check us out at www.globalturnon.com. Until then, we'll see you soon.